When you're hiking in the monument, you're liable to see all kinds of pottery, bits of shards, some very interesting artifacts. These ruins here are what's left of Ryan's Ranch. Well, it's pretty obvious why they built this here. The view is perfect. 360 degrees, nothing but beautiful desert. There's juniper trees, Joshua trees, yuccas, every kind of thing you can imagine. And back in the day, you could probably see herds of bighorn sheep here. Hard to tell how long this place has been here. This building was built probably around the turn of the century. This is adobe block that's made from the clay in the ground and heated in the desert sun. And the Park Service makes every attempt to preserve ruins like this. So they come in and apply a thin layer of cement over the top to stabilize the adobe bricks, because over time they just melt. From the remains of this structure, it's really necessary to stabilize these ruins, because otherwise they just melt away into the desert. These are three fine examples of the Joshua tree, so called because the early settlers in this area thought that it looked like Joshua from the Bible with his arms extended to heaven. In reality, they're the largest member of the lily family. This Joshua tree has examples of the several phases of the life of the blossoms. Here we have an unopened pod. It looks kind of like an artichoke. Some people say you can eat these. Here is a slightly open one that's starting to show the blossoms inside. Over here we have one that's almost ready to bloom. And here we have the final stage from last year of a dead one. These are pollinated by a day-flying moth that lays its eggs inside the Joshua tree blooms and then dies. And the new generation starts from there. Ow. This is a type of cat claw that grows out here in the desert. And this plant growing inside it is desert mistletoe, which is a type of parasite that feeds on the sap of the cat claw. The ocotillo, which is also known as candlewood because of the bright red flowers that grow right at the very tips of these stalks that look like candles, is a deciduous plant and not a cactus. It, unlike regular deciduous plants that you see in temperate zones, it can grow as many as 5 sets of leaves per year depending on rainfall. The leaves set right above very, very sharp thorns. So when handling ocotillo, be very careful. This lovely bush is called jojoba. It's also known as the goat nut plant because it produces a seed that looks a little bit like an acorn that's 3-sided. The oil that's obtained from these extremely leathery leaves is of a very, very high quality. And it's used to lubricate fine machinery. It's also used in beauty products because it's wonderful on the human skin. And it was discovered to be as fine an oil as sperm whale oil, which caused the demise of the sperm whale. Well, here I am having a stroll through the cholla garden. Most of the cholla in this garden are known as teddy bear cholla, but you don't want to cuddle these fellas because they will hurt you. These needles are very, very sharp and they have very tiny hairs that are almost impossible to see or remove, but those hairs channel the dew to the base of the cactus where it gets its nourishment from. When you're walking in a place like this, it's always a good idea to wear a sturdy boot. going to take a little break here and talk to you about the wonderful rock formations here in Joshua Tree. These rock formations are over 100 million years old. They were created by molten rock coming up from the center of the earth, solidifying, and then eventually wearing away over the centuries. This type of rock is called plutonic, and this particular type of rock is called monzogranite. It's created by centuries of being in a wet climate. Now, it doesn't look like it now, but many thousands of years ago, this area was very wet. And that water trickling down into the rock eroded away those grooves and created this beautiful rock formation we see behind us here. Well, thanks for joining me, Raven Jake Dawes, here at Live 365 TV. And keep checking back, because we're going to be doing some wonderful things over the next few months, from the top of San Jacinto to the bottom of the desert, the Salton Sea, and everything in between. Thanks for joining me.